life and you really feel like kind of right now especially, some of the relationships that you see, some of the relationships that maybe even you have, are like totally fake. Come on, be real. How many of you guys think that you kind of see either other people having fake relationships or you yourself have fake relationships with people? It's mundane, it's practiced, it's rehearsed almost. You walk up, hey, how you doing? In the back of my mind, I really don't like you at all, but I have to be nice, so... You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that there's not going to be I'm not saying there's not going to be relationships that are similar to that where we struggle with people through our lives. But the difference between like having fake relationship and real relationship to me really comes down to who we choose to be in that relationship. It's not even about who the other person is. Even if the other person feels like they're going to be fake in a relationship with you, even if it's in your families, are you going to be real? And I think that's what's awesome about this conversation. And so where we're going to talk about that tonight specifically is our families, okay? Last week we kicked it off with faith, the amazing faith bond. Got to speak on love. You guys can give her a hand. So first off, last week, that was her second time ever preaching? That was her second time ever preaching. Tonight, that was Faith's first time ever drumming. So you guys can give her another hand if you would like. It was a great job, Faith. Way to go. Tonight I have somebody else I'm going to invite up in a little bit that is going to help me preach this message on family. And in fact, this person I'm going to invite up in a little bit inspired this whole series. They came forward to me and they said, Pastor Colton, I feel like I have a message in my heart. I feel like we have a lot of people that really struggle with family, and I want to speak to that. Isn't that amazing? One of your guys' peers came forward to ask to speak to you guys about family. Now here's the cool part. I don't want to give too much away about their testimony and about what they faced in life, but we have two different angles covered. You see, I was fortunate, and I don't know why, and I don't know that I deserved it, but I got to be in a family that they're awesome. I love my mom, love my dad, love my sister. And I grew up around people that were in broken homes all their lives. And what's amazing is this person that asked to preach this tonight comes from the other perspective. She has family members that love her, but at the same point, there's some hard things that she's faced with some of those family members. And she's had to learn how to love them in spite of the fact that it can be difficult to love when people are broken. Especially when people are not saved. Especially when you come from families where the people in your family choose not to know Jesus or choose not to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, even though you do. And so I just urge you in a little bit when I invite her up here, I'm going to lay some things out real quick to open up. And then when I invite this young lady up here, she's going to give you her testimony and kind of finish off the message, okay? So bear with me here. How many of you here, first and foremost, there are definitely moments in time where you find it a challenge to love your family members? I think we can probably all agree on that, right? I have a sister. I wanted a brother. I didn't get the choice. I was gifted with a sister. I wanted to punch her all my life, but she wasn't a boy, so I couldn't punch her in the mouth. Instead, I had to scream at her and break the door when I got mad. I did do that. That is a real story. I definitely got in trouble. It's okay. Don't worry, my parents forgave me for it. But I think we can all agree that it is a challenge at different times to know how to love our family members. Okay, whether we come from a good home or we come from a home that's a little on that rough side and a little bit on that questionable side. It doesn't matter what kind of a background you come from. The goal is you want to love your family. Even deep down, I think our goal is to love our families, whether we come from one or the other perspective. But it's not easy. And sometimes it's way harder than others. So, sorry, I'm trying to skip a little bit here so that I can condense this down. I practice my messages, you guys, and when I preached earlier to myself, I preached to myself for a long time because apparently I needed to hear the message really bad. So, here's what I want to say. All of you guys are going to grow up, and no matter what your relationship is with your family now, even if it's terrible and you never want to speak to them again after you graduate, they will always have something to do with your life, and you won't ever be able to escape it. So own it. Own the fact that the people that you're with, that you call mom and dad, brother and sister, quite frankly, even if they're not blood related, if they're the people that are with you and they're the people that are raising you, they're going to be a part of your life no matter what. And here's the thing, even if you were to graduate and then choose to walk away from that family and choose not to come back for the holidays because you had a rough relationship with them growing up, and you choose not to come back, it doesn't matter what you choose in life. Whether you have a good family that you're going to come back for Christmas and you're going to see them, and it doesn't matter. They are a staple in who you are as a person, and they're also an influence in what you're going to do to create your own family someday. Okay? That was really good, and I think I lost eye contact. It's like people got bored when I said that really, really good thing. So I'm going to kind of repeat it a little bit. Your family, whether good or not so great, is an influence on what your future family is going to look like. Because at some point, you're going to choose to get married to a guy if you're a girl, and to a girl if you're a guy. And when you choose to do so, you're going to build a family with that person, that spouse that you take up and that you marry. And you're going to have kids with that person. And if you don't have the right perspective on how to build that family, and you haven't been practicing on the family you live with now how to love them, then it's going to be so much harder when you actually start building your own family if you can't practice on the family you currently have. Okay, so bear with me here. What I'm trying to say ultimately, in conclusion of that little thought, is practice on the family you have now, whether it's hard or not, how to love the family you're going to create with a spouse someday when you choose to have kids with somebody. Because even if you're thinking right now, oh, I ain't never going to have kids, or if I do, I'm going to be like in my 40s because I want to live life and have fun. Even if you're that guy, first off, I promise you that living the I want to have fun life, all you're doing is partnering with hell here on earth. And I can't stop you from doing that, so I'm not necessarily going to try. But at some point in time, just don't forget, if you're the kind of person that wants to go and party and live life, so to speak, the way that people would say, I promise you, come back to church once you finally figure out that it wasn't worth it. Okay? Because I can't stop you from doing it. But come back to church and get loved on by God, because these are people in here that really love you. And He's a being that loves you perfectly, unlike the world. Okay? But what we're talking about tonight is your heart and how you can love and how you can use your family to practice how to love. Because, as you've all stated, it's difficult to love family members sometimes. So, the question is, how do we build a real, long-lasting relationship with our family members to where their influence, whether good or bad, will always be something we can learn from, and we can love our family members through even the worst of times. So I want to open the night. I want to talk about 1 Corinthians. And so to start out with, just to kind of describe Corinth, the town of Corinth, that's where the book of Corinthians come from. It's a series of letters that Paul wrote to the church of Corinth. Okay, if you look at the town of Corinth back in Jesus' time frame and you compared it to a city that we know of nowadays, Corinth was basically Las Vegas. Okay, so like it was the bad town, the bad city, the place that you go to if you want to cause trouble and get in trouble and so on and so forth, you know what I mean? Because we look at Las Vegas nowadays and it seems intriguing. It seems like it'd be a great place to go on vacation. And I don't know, I've heard ups and downs about it either way, but no matter what happens, quite frankly, the other thing that you hear about is a lot of negative that comes out of Las Vegas, and that's what Corinth was. So Paul is writing to those people in that church, and this is what he's saying in 1 Corinthians 13, verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but I do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Okay? So what he's trying to say here, listen up. Don't miss this. First off, if what Paul is, hold on a sec. Let me gather my thoughts here. This is the first of 3 examples that Paul will give us as to why love is important. Paul essentially is saying here that love gives meaning. There it is. Love gives meaning. Okay, so if you are able to do all these different really cool things in life, if you're able to speak to people and have knowledge over their lives or however it works out, if you try to walk up to that person, it has no meaning for you to try to speak into their life or partner with them unless you have love. See, unless you have love, there is no meaning, and if there's no meaning, you're just annoying. So first off, if you don't love your family, then you need to start, and I'll give you a good reason why. But even if you do, then let there be meaning behind it. For many of you in here, I'm sure that could be as simple as you getting your sibling or your parents' attention and actually saying, I love you, and meaning it. So do that. Here's the deal. I see a lot of distractions. You guys bear with me. This is a really, really, really good message tonight. Okay, and we're going to get somewhere. And I know that everybody has a different kind of a family dynamic and family demographic. This goes for if you have a good family or you come from a pretty rough family. The way that you can start by loving your family and actually having meaning behind it is walk up to them. Let me start by asking this. How many of you guys, how many of you guys the last time that you said I love you to one of your siblings and you actually meant it was a month ago? How many of you was it yesterday? Okay. How many of you was it like a long time ago? How many of you was it like never you said I love you to a sibling and meant it? Okay. So like I said, for some of you in here, listen up. For some of you in here, having meaning behind the I love you might simply be you actually taking a moment where you stop your sibling, stop playing Nerf wars or pillow fights or video games or whatever it is you do, and look them straight in the eyes and mean it when you say, hey, I want you to know, bro, or I want you to know, sis, I really, really, really love you. You mean a lot to me. And I know that through it all, through this life, you're who's left. No matter what happens to your life or my life, you're who's left. And I want you to know I love you. And I appreciate you. They might look at you and laugh at you and think you're a goof, but have meaning behind what you say. The point is for you to love, not for you to get love from your family. Okay? Many times when you choose to start loving, especially if you're not receiving love from your family, all of a sudden it shakes everything up, and then love starts working all the way around. Okay? So the second verse here, 1 Corinthians 13:2. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. He says, no matter how smart I am, it doesn't matter if I don't have love. Paul was talking about love as coming from the heart. And in this example, love comes from the mind. Understanding and knowing someone isn't enough. Love must be added to it. So just because you guys know your families, maybe you guys know that your parents make mistakes. You guys have the complete understanding, my parents are dumb, or my parents are frustrating, or my parents make mistakes, my parents mess up, whatever it might be. But if behind that you don't also have love, then you have nothing. Just because you know that doesn't mean you love your family. Just because your sibling might be dumb or an idiot or frustrating sometimes, if behind that you don't have love to look at them and compassion to look at your family members, then you can't actually love. It's meaningless. So the question tonight is how do you begin to look at your families and not just know that there's issues there, but also love them? Okay? And the third thing, if I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. In this example, Paul's talking about our ability to take action. It's pointless to do something if love isn't a part of it. It's pointless to do something if love isn't a part of it. Okay, so I know that this is tying into our message from last week, but quite frankly, that's because love is the most important thing that we have here on earth. Love is how we fight everything evil. But it's not like love from other people. Okay? You getting loved from other people has nothing to do with you fighting against the evil in this world. You being that love and choosing to love with God's love is what actually makes the difference. Okay? And your family is where we need to start. So what that means for us, when your brother gets on the varsity team or something really cool happens for him or something like that, loving him means genuinely being excited for him. Okay? When your parents come down on you about your grades, loving them is listening to what they have to say and respecting it. Okay? When your sister is in need of a ride, loving them is giving up your time to help her out. All right? When you find out your cousin gets into trouble with the law, loving him is praying for repentance and showing him compassion. When you're at your grandparents' house for Easter, loving them is putting away your phone and having meaningful conversations that you don't get to have very often. Here's the deal. This is a big one, you guys. Some of you guys go to family events with grandparents and some people that might be older, and you don't know how to connect with them because they're old. Can I show you how? Put it down. Put the phone down. And actually go sit down and ask some meaningful questions of your grandparents. Because here's the deal, you guys. They have the legacy of a part of your family history. But if you never ask questions and connect with them in love, you're not going to learn a piece of who you were. They have wisdom. And they can teach you how to walk through these years, which I know and I understand fully that some of you are at that age of 14, 15, 16 years old. And at 14 and 15 and 16 years old, there's nothing any adult can say that you don't already know, right? Right? At least that's the way you carry yourself. Be careful not to carry yourself that way. Always be teachable, you guys. And if you'll put your phones away and actually connect with older generations, you'll learn something more than you will on this thing. Okay? When your aunt posts an embarrassing picture from a family reunion, loving her is replying with a positive comment of how much you love her. When your brother says something that's offensive to you, loving him is letting it go and staying positive. When you say something you regret, being loving is apologizing. And when someone else says something that hurts you, being loving means you forgive them and not hold on to the grudge. Guys, love is not easy. Loving your family takes lots of work. It means doing things we don't want to do and saying things that we don't want to say. At this point, I'm going to transition, you guys. I just wanted to kind of lay out some thoughts on how to love, okay? So bear with me here. When I transition, this is the other side of the coin. I just spoke to you from a perspective that comes from a loving family background, but I've also watched a lot of friends and hung out with a lot of friends, gone over to their house weekend after weekend and spent night after night in broken family homes with my friends and stuff like that. So I have an idea what some of you face, and I know what others of you are facing, to have that good family where you go home and you break the door down because you're mad at your brother or sister. Don't judge me. So, no matter what perspective you come from, guys, loving family is the most important thing we can do, because when it's all said and done, listen up to this. When it's all said and done, whatever friends you have here, whatever friends you get in college or at work or in your 30s, all of those friends will probably move on. But your family will be with you forever, whether they're hard to be with or whether they're awesome. But here's the deal, even if they're hard to be with, what's stopping you from being that awesome family member? So be it. I'm going to invite Brynn Rogers, if she will come forward. She's going to preach your first message.
Okay, so this is my first time speaking. Sorry, I have to get my phone and get my notes. So I come from a pretty hard family. When I was about 10, I'm just going to be real, my family life was really tough. It was probably one of the hardest times that I've ever had and that I've ever faced through. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So I am talking about loving family, but from the side where your family may not be like the most awesome or the most like the easiest to get along with. As a lot of us know, it can be hard to love family, even if you come from like a loving family and like not such a broken family. I have a lot of personal experience with trying to love family in the hard times. Through these hardships, I have learned so much on how to love and forgive my family and how to view them in a loving way, even when I don't want to sometimes, because sometimes it can be hard. I have also learned to love God. None of my family is like are Christians, so it's kind of hard. Just coming to church and being the only one in your family, and like you don't have that many friends because you're going through really hard times, and it's hard to connect with people when you're going through those hard times. When I was 10, my family hardships started with my parents fighting a lot. And it was really hard on my sister and I, because you know, it's hard to see your family not getting along and trying to love them when there isn't like that loving environment in your house. My parents ended up getting a divorce about, I'm going to say 3 years after like the real fighting started. And there was a lot of reasons for that. And I'm going to be really real right now. It was partly because my dad, he had some really bad problems. I'm going to be real, like I said, he was an alcoholic, and that really tore my family apart. It was not fun to see and not fun to be a part of. Because of being an alcoholic, this changed his mental state, which was also not very fun, and that was not a loving environment. So my mom actually, during the divorce, we moved in with my grandparents, my Nana and Papa, her parents, and I felt so ungrateful now that I look back because I didn't have any love in me, and I didn't have any love to give because I wasn't really close to God in this time. And without God and His love, you can't love anyone else. You can't love your family, you can't love your friends, you can't love anyone. Sorry, give me a second. So with all of this, I had major trust issues, which is also part of why I didn't have very many friends. because I didn't know who I could trust, because I thought, if my own family members could burn me so much, how can anyone treat me even better? And so that's also part of why I wasn't really close with God at this time, because I didn't trust anyone, I didn't trust anything. But as a result, after during the divorce and after, I got so much closer to God because of these hardships, because I realized if no one's going to be here for me, then I might as well try God, because he was my last hope, he was my last resort, he was the last thing that I could think of, the last person that I could think of that would be there with me. And this, during this time, my mental health was not good. I was not in a good place. My family members weren't. It was really hard. But through getting closer to God, I realized what I had allowed Satan to put into my heart, and I realized all of the lies and all of the hardships that I allowed him to put me through. Because during these hardships, if you don't trust in God, then Satan will tear you apart so much more than you would be if you were with God. So, I had anger, anxiety, and hate. Those were the three main things that Satan had put into my heart during these times. And I did not want them. Once I found God again, I chose that I wanted love and joy and just peace. Because during these hardships, I had so much anxiety, I would not be up here at all. Anyone who knows me knows that I would not, unless it was Jesus who told me to be here. But a scripture that reminds me of this time is Philippians 4:4-7, which says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." You need to be gentle. You need to have gentleness and let it be evident to all. You need to have God's gentleness to be gentle. The thing that I love the most in this verse is that it says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understandings, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." And that was the most important lesson that I have learned during that time in my life. Because I was so anxious, and I needed to not be anxious anymore. So in every single situation, I would set aside at least 3 different times each day to just pray and be like, "God, thank you so much for my friends. Thank you so much for my church family. Thank you so much for my dogs." Something like that. I would just say thank you. Or I would be like, "God, I am going through this hard time and I just need you. So please just be with me. Take this anxiety away from me. Just be with me through this moment." So in these hard times, the only thing that helped me was prayer. I would always ask God what happened and why did my family break apart. I asked these because I was kind of mad. I knew why, but I didn't know why God would let it happen. So I asked him what his plan was for my life, because I knew that during this time it would give me a new perspective and a new path for my life. I knew that he would take me somewhere even further than I ever thought that I would go, just like right now. I'm speaking to you. So even though that he didn't answer in that time, I was mad, and I was like, "God, why aren't you answering me? Answer me right now, because I need to know what is going on." But even though he didn't answer then, he answered right now. Well, not right now, but a few months ago. And I just think that a lot of us, we do get upset when God doesn't answer us in our timeline, but He has His own timeline to teach us different things and to show us different things and to answer our prayers and our requests. With my parents going through divorce, I learned my own viewpoints on divorce, kind of. I still don't know exactly how I feel, but I did learn some things. I learned that I believe that it should be every person's goal not to divorce their spouse, which I kind of already knew. But it's because I don't think that it helps you learn how to love with a mindset to just toss them aside because they're a jerk. In our society, a lot of people are like, okay, I love you for 3 years. Okay, now you're rude to me, so goodbye, divorce. And in comes the next person, and then you get married, and then you divorce them because they didn't do the dishes. Like something stupid, literally. Like you chose them. However, you can learn so much through divorces if you have to walk through one as a kid, like I did. And you're willing to ask God to teach you through the divorce and through how you are supposed to walk through it, how your mindset is supposed to be changing, what you're supposed to be learning. And so, I have some points. The first thing that I learned was that you don't have to be close to someone to love them. My family was so split up during this time that I didn't get to see my entire dad's side of the family for a long time. Like, it was at least a year. And so I had to figure out different ways to love them from afar and from not being able to see them. And so I just simply prayed for them or told them that I was thinking of them or that I love them. I mainly just prayed for them though, because I sometimes didn't even want to really talk to them, but I wanted God to take care of them. So I just prayed because I wanted the best for them, even if I didn't want to talk to them in that time. The second thing that I learned is that you can have different beliefs than your family, and you can live your life differently than your family. None of my family goes to church. When we were really little, they would come to church with us, but then they wouldn't come. And so I had to make a choice. I had to figure out how I was going to get to church. I had to figure out when I was going to get picked up. I had to figure out what time and what day, and I had to get the specifics 2 weeks before that day, because that's what my family said. They said you could go if you tell us 2 weeks before the exact specifics. It was crazy. It was kind of dumb, but I got through it. I was faithful. I was like, okay, God, I will put this in your hands. I will let you guide me. And I learned that you need to ask God for guidance and trust that He is guiding you. Even when you feel like your circumstances are getting worse, you just need to trust in Him. Because through your hardships, there are ups and downs. Through life, there are ups and downs. And the only way to get through it is to trust God and ask Him for your guidance, for His guidance. So you just need to ask God for His guidance and just trust that He's going to get you through it. Because no matter what, He is there. And the final thing that I've learned about loving family is that it's harder to love your family than it is to love anyone else. Because your family is always there. And they're always with you. Sometimes it feels like you can't get away from them. I'm just kidding. But they're always there. But the good thing about that is that they're always there whenever you need them. And so if you ever need anything from your family, go up to them and ask them, even if it's your family of friends, even if it's your church family or your school family, you could go to them and know that they will always be there for you. And so that's the thing that I love about family. How can you love others and share the love of Jesus if you don't have Jesus' love? That is a good question. The simple answer is that you can't. Because without God filling you up and giving you love to give out, you have nothing. It's that simple. Like, if I didn't ask God to give me the love to love my family, if I didn't ask him, like, how can I love my family? What are ways that I can love my family? I wouldn't be able to love them. Like, I wouldn't be able to love anyone for that matter. So the first thing that you need to do is learn to love your family, and then you can learn to love others. Because as I said before, your family is always there. And if you can't learn to love people that are always there for you and with you during those hard times, how can you love, like, strangers that might, like, make you mad? Like, if someone cuts you off in traffic, like, if you're driving and someone cuts you off, how are you going to love them if God doesn't give you that love to love them, even if it's just for 2 seconds? We have our family as long as we live. And if you only remember one thing from tonight, remember this. There is absolutely nothing in this world that your family can say or do that doesn't deserve your forgiveness. No matter how bad they mess up, and no matter how different they are from you, they're still your family, and they're still going to be there for you. And the way for us to be able to love our family, like Paul mentions in the Bible, is to love God. So now I want you guys to think about this question. I don't want you guys to answer anything. I just want you guys to think. What relationship in your family do you need to work on? Like, what is a person in your family that you just need to learn to love or need to forgive? In 1 Corinthians 13:4-7 says, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud, it does not dishonor others. It is self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres." So why do we love this way? Why do we love the wrong way without God? Why do we dishonor our parents? Why do we dishonor our family? Why are we easily angered? Why do we keep a record of wrongs even if it's not the way we're supposed to love? Like, why do we just be like, oh my gosh, this person made fun of me, so I'm never going to talk to them again. Like, I'm going to hate them for the rest of my life. Why? It's so dumb. Like, you just need to learn to love them. And the key to loving others is to love God. Because God is love. He is the source of love. If we want to be patient and kind, if we want to stop being jealous and arrogant, if we want to stop dishonoring our family and stop being self-seeking, if we want to not get easily angered, if we want to genuinely forgive and show compassion, and if we want to always protect, trust, and hope in our family, if we want to have real relationships with our family, then we need to allow God's love to guide us. So now is when I will invite Pastor Colton back up.
Great job. We're going to go into a time of small groups real quick, and the way that I want to end right before we do that is I just want to read this one thing to you. I want to read this one thing to you again. So everybody, shh, quiet down. This is one moment. Out of all the scriptures that there are in the Bible, as you struggle through life, to know how to love people in the most frustrating moments, these are your instructions. 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. I think Brynn said it perfectly. You guys, I think it's a good time frame if you guys want to find. Let's try to stay in groups under